We continue our conversation with Drew Kirsteatter, candidate for the Assembly District 90. You are part of the entertainment scene in the Green Bay area.
Yeah.
What are you hearing from your colleagues out there? I mean, this industry is just about shut down. Nobody's doing any shows. What are they telling you?
Yeah, it's a really tough time for people in the entertainment industry for sure. I think when your entire goal and the entire way you make money is bringing people together, both kind of emotionally through the connection to music and kind of supporting a lot of the same ideas, but then also physically, let's get a whole bunch of people together and we'll all partake in this experience together. When the whole guideline is everybody kind of stay spread out and don't get in large groups, that really complicates that entire kind of business model. I think a lot of people have been finding creative ways to kind of work around it, and it's really forced them to grow in other areas. I think a lot of bands are really using this time to increase their online presence, interacting through streaming sites. But I know we all really miss that kind of live performance aspect of it. I know that was always my favorite part, was just getting together with people and getting to see that reaction and creating something together in that moment was always a really important thing.
Do you play? Do you sing? What do you do?
I'm a guitarist and vocalist.
Okay, so both.
Yeah.
Both. Other businesses that are winding up closing their doors, do you see our legislature right now doing enough to help keep those doors open?
You know, I think we are in a really tough spot for businesses, for sure. I think that's probably common knowledge at this point. We've seen a lot of businesses in this area, especially closing their doors. I know some people downtown, a couple of folks over on the east side of town have had to shut down from this, and that's a really hard thing. I think the legislature is taking the right steps in a lot of the programs that they're putting together. I think the payroll protection program and some of the other things we've been able to do are definitely good, but I think it's going to take a lot more than that to get businesses up and running again. I think a huge part of it is going to be getting our economy back to where it was, and we're trending in the right direction. But as long as we keep kind of social distancing, occupancy limits, a lot of that stuff is going to be really hard to bring back. So I think we're taking steps in the right direction, but a lot of that is going to have to wait until we can get more people in the doors as well.
The Kenosha situation, I'm sure you've been following it, like all of us have been following it. Everybody has an opinion. With you running for office, I have to ask you yours.
That is fair. I don't know about when this is played, but right now, at the time we're recording this, we really don't have a lot of information. I'm trying to withhold any official judgment on really either side of things for the time being, just because I don't know what was going through those officers' minds. I don't know the whole situation there. I think as far as kind of in general, the riots we've been seeing and a lot of that we've really been experiencing lately with just kind of unrest and violence and push for equality, it comes back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier about just at the core of this, I think we all want the same thing. We want peace, we want opportunity, and we want equality, right? A large number of us are looking at this from the perspective of, things have never been better, right, as far as opportunity and equality. We're seeing record employment rates for minority communities. We're seeing discrimination at an all-time low. Things have been much worse, and we still have a long way to go. But ultimately, right now where we're at, things have never been better. And then we've got the other side who are looking at things from the perspective of things aren't good enough. Things could be better. Yes, things have been worse, but things could be better. So I think a lot of these reactions of, oh, we shouldn't be protesting, we've just got to keep going with the same progression that we've had. We're moving in the right direction, and we will get there if we continue this. It's kind of one philosophy, and the other side of things is we need to get there sooner because there are people hurting in these situations. So these demonstrations, while we may be giving up peace and opportunity right now in these particular moments, I think the ultimate goal is to get us into that same place. So I think it comes back to a lot of what we were talking about before, about just sitting down and understanding, we come from the same place, we want the same things. Let's try to work together for this with tangible action steps and finding things that we can do instead of just causing general chaos and just general unrest and lawlessness and putting more people than originally were at risk.
Is there a need to change the way we train our police, or is that not the problem?
I think This is one of those very nuanced situations where it's going to vary a lot. I mean, maybe the Kenosha department and the Green Bay department are very, very different. I don't know those things, but I'm trying to have conversations with people who are. I'm applying for the Green Bay Police Ride-Along program. I want to get in there and see what they're doing and try to get an understanding for kind of where they're coming from. But I think we talk about like training police in de-escalation procedures or replacing them with social workers in those positions who are able to do those types of things. Police already are trained in de-escalation procedures, and I don't think an unarmed social worker would have a lot of luck in that if the other party is not interested in de-escalating. I think a large part of it has to also come from training our general public in that. I think if we had our high school and college students going through de-escalation courses, just to get them an understanding of what that takes. Maybe if you and I had a disagreement, we could de-escalate the situation ourselves before the police were even called, or maybe if we did and the police were called, we would have a better respect and understanding for just kind of following what they're ordering. I think when you try to resist a police officer, I don't want to say you're asking for it or you're going to get what's coming to you. I think that's a very, very abrasive position to take. But I do think as soon as you start to get defensive, it makes the other person think you probably have something to hide. So if you truly do have nothing to worry about, I think being respectful is going to go a long way. And if we're trying to educate our general public on that, instead of just putting all of the blame on the police officers, we're going to see a much bigger difference happen much quicker.
We have more to come with Drew Kirsteatter right after this, running for the Assembly District number 90. Stay with us.